Hello everyone, welcome back to our course, Introduction to Psychology. Again, I am Mr. Philip Sintin Soloterio and I am your course instructor for this course. We are now on the 5th week of our learning module in this subject and we're going to discuss the physiological basis of human behavior. So, now we can understand in this module, we will understand that psychology is not only a mystical study, but it is a science because it also studies human behavior in the physiological and biological aspects. So, we have here the psychosomatic unity concept, and it is the principle in psychology which implies a wholeness of response in both mind and body. And psychology asserts that this principle is inherent to the human person. The stimulus that produces behavior may vary, and for this reason, a student in psychology must know what is going on inside the human body to understand that what has influenced the external behavior. So in this point, we are studying here the internal aspects of our body, how the brain, the neurons, and the neurotransmitters work, so that we can understand how it affects our external behavior. So in this, in studying physiological aspects of human behavior, we are to study here the nervous system. So the nervous system is a complex and fascinating part of human body that is made up of a system of special cells that send out and receive signals while coordinating the body functions all at the same time. Also, it is the main control and coordinating system of the body, and it manages voluntary and involuntary body processes, and it functions as a transmitter and receiver of electric and chemical signals throughout of our body system. And it is very important because it makes sure that all body parts and functions properly at its required optimal purpose. So, what are these things that the nervous system is transmitting? And these are from our brain, and these are the neurons. And when called neurons, these are the nervous system's nerve cell. And these nerve cells made up the entire nervous system with around 100 of billions of nerve cells. And aside from the basic cell structure, it is also have extensions and appendages called axons and dendrites. And as the function, neurons acts as receiver and transmitter of electrical and chemical signals all throughout the body. Later, we're going to show you the parts of a neuron. Now, first, we have to discuss first the types of neuron or neurons. We have here the sensory and the motor neurons. Sensory neurons, these are the nerve cells within the nervous system responsible for converting external stimuli from the organism's environment into internal electrical impulses. And for the motor neurons, a neuron whose cell body is located in the motor cortex, brainstem, or the spinal cord, and whose axon or fiber, as what we discussed earlier, projects to the spinal cord or outside of the spinal cord to directly or indirectly control effector organs, mainly muscles and glands. So the sensory neurons, these are the ones who is transmitting signals to our brain, how we sense it, and the motor neurons are the ones who is providing external actions to our individuality. Next, the nerve impulse is the process how the neurons transmit messages and is an electrical wave of physical and chemical reaction along a nerve fiber in response to a stimulus. And in the state of the polarization, where the polarization itself is the state where neurons are at rest. So the nerve impulse is the process of transmitting messages. Also, for the synapse, it is the junction or intersection between nerve cells, where nerve impulse passes from the synaptic terminal or knob of the axon moving to the receptor site or receiving end of the next neuron. So this is how the processes, and it's what we call synapse, the junction, the intersection part where the signals is being transmitted. And for the reflex, these are simple instinctive or automatic responses of some parts of the body and also are the basic synaptic layout. So in such arrangement, messages are sent from the senses direct to the motor neurons, and this formation is called the sensory motor arc, and it causes the person to react to an event even before the message reaches and is processed in the cerebral cortex, because the cerebral cortex, the one is processing the our cognition. So here, as I have mentioned earlier, we have to discuss the parts of the neuron. That's we call the neural structure. So we have here the three parts: soma or cell body, the axon, and the dendrite. So the soma or the cell body, it is the body itself. It coordinates the overall activities of the neuron because it flows it in the soma. And this nerve cell contains the nucleus in the middle, or the control center of the cell containing vital cellular information such as genes. And the nucleus also controls the cell's growth and reproduction. Now, we have here the part of axon. It extends from the cell body. It extends towards the terminal ending. And there is the myelin sheath, and that's what we call the protective layer covering the axon, because the axon is extending. There is a sheath that is protecting the axon. And we have also the dendrites. These are short protrusions that receive the information and transmit information to the soma. So si axon siya yung naga-bigay, si dendrite siya yung naga-receive the information. So both axon and dendrites are thin cytoplasmic or gel-like substances that serves as fibrous extensions of a neuron. So here, in this slide, you can see clearly the structure of the neuron. We have here the nucleus in the middle, and this large part outside the nucleus, what we call the soma, the cell body, and the dendrites are the ones who is receiving signals from the other neurons. And here the axon extending, and it has an axon terminal in different parts, and then the long part of the axon is being covered by a myelin sheath, and that's how it is a protective layer covering the axon. So next, the neurotransmitters. And the neurotransmitters are the biochemical agents released by the neurons to stimulate another neuron. So this process allows impulses or signals to pass from one nerve cell to the next all throughout the nervous system. So lahat yan, signal yan sila. And we have these two types of neurotransmitters, of the biochemical agents. And these are excitatory neurotransmitter, and the second one is the inhibitory. Now, what are the two types? We have to discuss them one by one. The excitatory neurotransmitter, it increases the likelihood of the neurons to release an action potential and brings about transmission of neural impulses. And on the other hand, inhibitory transmitter, preventing the likelihood of neural impulses from being transmitted. And why is that so? It is to balance the release of nerve impulses in making the person normal and sane with the external behaviors, because if not, it will cause the person to be insane or behave not in a normal behavior, not in the specific norm as a person should behave. It will move too much to the excitatory or too much to the inhibitory, and that's how important the balance of the neurotransmitters in the body. And we have here the major neurotransmitters: the acetylcholine, the GABA, the dopamine, the endorphins, and the histamine. For the acetylcholine, it contracts smooth muscles, dilates blood vessels, increases bodily secretions, and slows heart rate. And for the GABA, it is an inhibitory neurotransmitter because it blocks or inhibits certain brain signals and decreases activity in your nervous system. Especially in the part that we are very excited, it somehow controls. The dopamine, it plays a role in how we feel pleasure. It's a big part of our unique human ability to think and plan, and the dopamine is very strong when we are very excited. It is exciting. And for the endorphins, produced naturally by the nervous system to cope with pain or stress, and that's endorphins. And they are often called the feel-good chemicals. And because they can act as pain reliever and happiness booster, especially sa mga people who are in pain, physical pain, and also people with who are depressed or somehow down, they have the contents of the medicines that they are intaking contains endorphins. And histamine is a chemical created in the body that is released by white blood cells into the bloodstream when the immune system is defending against the potential allergen. That's why our medicine in the when we are in the state of allergy is antihistamine, because histamine is the neurotransmitter who is reacting whenever we are taking an allergen, and it reacts to our skin and how we feel in the body. So these are the major neurotransmitters. For more information, you may research it on the internet or the other books of physiobiological aspects of the human body. And I hope you have learned something for this introductory discussion about the physiological basis of human behavior. Thank you for listening. See you in the next video lecture. See ya.